Hey, down here. Okay, well, I'm off in the corner here, but I wanted to get everything set up ahead of time. So this is my little fan that I added to my GPU cooler for video card for the Red Black BioStar. That's what I call it. It has a BioStar motherboard and the black case and the red lights on it. And anyway, the fan that was in it, was making lots of noise. It was gone bad, and I had I bought three brand new fans recently because my mom's GPU cooler fan went out, and these were direct replacements. Well, this one is kind of a standard. What I saw when I was looking them up. I keep thinking I've got the endoscope showing there. Let me go ahead and do that. Be a lot more. There we go. Cam 1 and endoscope. That's where I needed to go anyway. Okay, so this one was a direct replacement for hers, but for this one it had a big plastic cover that the fan was mounted in. It wasn't mounted to the heat sink. But what I did was, instead of buying more fans, these are brand new. I got one more after this one. Used two now. I drilled holes and mounted it to the heatsink, except for it's really close. The GPU is pretty thin, so it's really close to a little circuit board that it's mounted in, and so I had to grind those down. I got my, I don't have a rod angle grinder, which would have been perfect, but I do have a 2-inch and a 3-inch mandrel and those screw-in sandpaper grinding pads from a drill. I put in just my regular electric drill. And so, it's a little harder to, well, in this case, I put the drill on a workbench and a little step ladder that I turned into a workbench, and then just held this and grounded it, just holding it just like that up to it, just like that. So anyway, it took a couple of hours, just that part of it. I tried to make video of it, but out in the garage, my Wi-Fi drops out too much. These phones don't have a powerful enough Wi-Fi chips and antennas in them, and so it drops down too much. Because my cameras are all Wi-Fi camera, my phone's going over the Wi-Fi to my computer in here. So anyway, I had put it to the side, and I hadn't been feeling good most of the time, and I've had I've had 3 computers with fan troubles. So, my server, it was making noise and driving me crazy. So I tried to fix it first, and then one day I was all in the middle of working on fans, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna run my leg into that every time I move. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna fix this one. And I thought it was just a matter of swapping out the CPU cooler fan. I didn't know it was a GPU fan that was bad in it. So when I got into that, I got into another can of worms. So I've had them all out. They're stacked up in my room here. Finally, I decided I've been running my Gateway 500 megahertz backup server in the garage as my server for a week or two. Finally, I said, I might as well just put, my main server runs fine, my IBM, it's a Celeron 2.5 gigahertz. It runs fine. It just bothered me with the noise it was making. I put a brand new fan in it, but it makes a funky little noise. And then it may be that the hard drive is start making noise too. I still haven't completely figured out I changed fans, and it still makes a different noise, plus the same noise comes and goes. That was the louder one comes and goes. It's probably the hard drive, I'm thinking, because I'm pretty sure it's not the power supply fan. And there is no GPU. It's an onboard video, so there's no GPU fan on it. So anyway, it's in the garage running, and so it's not bothering me. But when I figured out this year that those machines can stay running as long as I've got a ceiling fan and a fan on a pedestal, a pretty powerful fan running. But of course, sometimes somebody will turn that fan off. They don't realize. My mom usually, she just forgets, that I have something going on out there. So, but anyway, and plus it's just running that fan. Now there's tape on my. There's tape on my. I see it all. I normally don't ever sit this way. I have put tape on my part of my desk down there. I can't explain it without showing it. Because my arm of my chair is metal and it hits it and knocks splinters on it that are very uncomfortable to run into. So I put tape on there, but the tape gets rubbed plumb through and torn into shreds from this arm of this chair. So anyway, I saw a piece hanging down and I pulled it off and it started ripping the whole piece off, getting off onto other things again. And one of these days I need to do something about all that, besides just trying to cover it up with tape. It also looks really ugly because that tape, at first you don't hardly see it, and then it gets really ugly. So anyway, yeah, see how now on top of everything else my wheels are worn out on my chair. So I fight the chair to move it. It bangs into the table even more. It's actually an add-on I made to this cheap, this is a particle board desk with paper laminate. But down there is actual white oak. When I built some cabinets about 20 years ago for the bathroom, and I had enough left to make another little cabinet, a cabinet, and I put my mouse right there. You can kind of see down here to my right. I rest my arm. I don't get stress and strain on my arm, and I have my mouse down there. And then underneath, I have two slide-out shelves with full of stuff. It's really, really handy. Best desk I ever sat at. But there was a problem with that. So anyway, let's go to 1 and 2 and see if we can actually get to work here. And I decided on all the computers I'm talking about. The reason I went ahead and put that one out in the garage is because, number one, I wasn't feeling well enough to finish the work right away, but I had one day where I felt good enough to drag them outside. And because I decided to do that because I need to get back. I've got to reformat mom's machine again because of the recent malware problems. Bad add-on that I got, a Firefox add-on that ended up serving up malware, and I want to reformat it. Well, when I reformatted it a few months ago, it was Fedora 27. Well, now since then Fedora 28 came out, and I've put it on my machine that I'm streaming from here. And so I thought, well, it's silly for me to do I want to reformat it, so I might as well do Fedora 28. I want to make sure it's, no chance of any kind of infection, because even though we're talking about Linux here, it's not immune, and there's more and more cross-platform compatible malware out there than ever before. So every indication I saw, I've scanned everything I got over and over. Nothing got infected, actually. But there's always those things that you can't be detected by, that aren't detected yet, So I wanted to make sure. So how am I going to do this? Let's see. I'm going to need. Yeah, I'll get all my little bitty. I got some really nice small. That's a wire cutter. Got two very small needle nose pliers. One of them has kind of a curved tip. So that, and I actually have to use, this one here is actually a little bit different size, and I think doesn't show up as much. There we go. See, it looks like it may be brass, and it seems to be a little bit different in size. And I have another socket. I got a combination of I think it's a 1/4 inch socket and a millimeter socket. This is a 1/4 inch in my pocket. Anyway, it's going to probably end up taking both sockets in order to, I can just get a hold of it, and I don't have the 12 point or whatever that they grab better on things that are they're so thin. Anyway, I believe it'll work. Let's see, where's the one that I haven't? Yeah, you can see the scratch marks where I tried to kind of deburr the edges a little bit, make them not so sharp. I have a little metal fingernail file that it's pretty handy as a tool. It's too rough to use on your fingernails. It'll hurt. Let's see, these, that's too big. These will go directly into that little handle. Oh, those get a hold of it better. Some of these, oh no, they don't get a hold of those at all, just that one. So it really doesn't matter, I don't think. It's one of the, a little nut driver that'd go straight in. This is from this is another set, but it's made to hold those perfectly. But there's an adapter. This is a Sears set, and it has a little adapter to go from that to a regular 1/4-inch socket. So I just, of course, use whatever. Sometimes what's handy, and sometimes what I think will actually work the best. I'd forgotten to check that. And I got this out just now, so I thought I better check it. Whenever I was fixing to dig in here, and I had to move it to get to the little file of a thing that fingernail file is what it really is that I was talking about. This little job here, it's metal, and it's, like I said, it's just way too rough really to use on your fingers. Get that plate out of the way now, because it's just gonna. But it's yeah. So yeah, if I want to deburr them a little bit if I can. I quit doing it last time because it made one of them come loose and come off. And that's when I decided, okay, I have to use Loctite on these. I was thinking they were on there and they seemed snug. And then when I went to doing the deburring, one of them came loose. So, and I think I got wore out. I was a day that I had been working on this stuff for 8-10 hours, and plus the rest of this time of the day I'd really had a long day. So anyway, I had to quit and go to bed, and that was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know now when it was. I did other things in between, here and there. So just remembered I had to stop. I started to stream a while ago, and then Mom came in to ask me something, and so I had to stop. I just decided to stop and start over. So now, okay, yeah, that's working fine. I think I'll pause that preview because I'm not going to be doing any real switching or anything. Even the ones I've already worked on still feel a little sharp, but I think that's about good enough. Just put it up there. But yeah, when I remember I had that thing. I don't like. I'm kind of one of those guys that never throw anything away, because as soon as you do, the day after you throw it away is the day you need it, and really, you can really save a lot of money as long as you got a place to put stuff. A lot of time, a lot of money. Well, it's not always time, because if you got a bunch of stuff like I do, then you might spend forever looking for whatever it is you got or you think you got. But anyway, if you've got if you've got a way to keep stuff, you can, if you really people are always talking about, trying to not make a big impact on the environment and all that stuff. Well, then quit throwing so much crap away. Don't be such a consumer. There was when I was growing up in the '60s and '70s, there was a lot of talk about consumerism, and it was, a lot of people thought it was a bad thing and wasteful. And now people, they throw everything away and call it minimalism. And so then if you throw everything away, then the next time you need something, you got to go buy something else. And then you throw that away. And then you buy something else and you throw that away. So I can't see that as being a benefit. Unless you never had much of anything to start with, but then who wants to live without anything? So anyway, doesn't really matter which one I take off. I don't guess. Let's see. That one it came loose, and I want to see how if they're gonna. Now that one it doesn't grab good, and I'm hitting the deal. That one it grabs okay. Yeah, like I was saying, it depends on which one you're on as to which one it's. Don't know where to set stuff. I can't. This is slanted real bad. I can't set anything that'll roll on there. Getting confused about which one I'm trying to get a hold of. There we go. That's the only drawback to that little adapter thing. There we go. That one. Yeah, it gets a hold of that one. Okay, so those two you can get a hold of with. It's kind of weird. Okay, so yeah, I think I'll do this, the one that's a different color first, and yeah, I can get a hold of it, I think. Oh yeah, I need one of those little screwdrivers. I've got my little, those are in here luckily, because I forgot. But my good screwdrivers, yeah, that's the one I used last time, I think. Yeah, they're just the right size for that screw. But you gotta have a screwdriver to back it up, and I've just got the wire wrapped in there to keep it from slapping, you know, dangling and getting in all over the place. But I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this. The plate is here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use it because it's just every time I touch it, you know, I knock it all over the place. So I'm gonna put the plate over there. What I'm gonna do is squirt some of that Loctite on the plate. Last time I put it on a paper towel and it really started soaking it up real fast. So what I'm hoping is to not, I don't know, it looks like it's going to take too many hands. I need the screwdriver to back that up. Last time I stood it up like that, I'd have to move the close-up one to show you that in the close-up. Look at the wide view. Stood it up like that and did it. Maybe what I still have to do in order to, maybe the plate wouldn't help. Okay, so now if I do that, yeah, that's actually rather tight. There we go. Now, I guess I should go ahead and, now that I see what it is I want to do, I'll go ahead and pull this up high enough to set the thing under there and see it, so we can all see it, because it'll help me see, that's for sure. Two reasons I've got that close-up camera is to show it, but also to help me see stuff. I'm not sure. There. It's really tricky for me. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to leave that sitting there. And I forgot to get my Loctite out. Got it sitting there, but I didn't get it out of the package yet. There we go. Just put that package down. Okay, now I think I will put my plate back over here. Okay, maybe I can do it like that. Yeah. don't know if there we go. I think it was starting to slide off my screw, but I think I got it back on there now. Yeah, it's on there. I don't guess no one way or the other whether that stuff needs to be shooken up, but yeah, I don't want to make a mess all over my little table. This stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to put it on. I'm going to put it directly on there this time. Oh boy, a lot came out. Okay, but now that's why I'm hoping it will seep down into the. I don't want to get it all over my fingers if I can help from it. And I may have to. I was going to put a glove on, wasn't I? I don't know if let's try turning this with the, I can't do it. I need to turn the screwdriver. I need another set of hands is what I need. I think I did it. Just disappeared in there, isn't it? I think maybe let's try the little socket and see. Didn't really want to. It worked. Guess it won't hurt to let a little bit run off. I want to make sure that that screw actually the screw's kind of threaded a little bit, and then they stripped out. So that stuff's kind of thick enough that it stays around. Let's go to this one next. Just try to do the same thing. Trying to get things to where I can work with one hand when the time comes here. That's what I'm trying to do. I didn't say that this time in the video, but it seems odd that I'm surprised what this Loctite does. It's because I've really never used it my whole life. I never really cared for it much. Makes it little bitty screws, especially you tear them up trying to get things apart that has Loctite, so I didn't like that. But then you never know if you got just a little, like say you're trying to use it, you got just a little bit of oil or moisture or something on your parts, then it doesn't stick. So, to me it's a 50-50 chance, or 70, that it, or somewhere, some kind of a chance it's not good enough to me, that it may not even help at all. So I've always used either lock washers or two nuts together. But in this case, there is no room. Oh, great. I picked that one, and that's the one this doesn't fit. Well, let's go to the other one because it fits the other one. And then I'll have to swap nuts. These are, not any set of nuts and screws and nuts there. Well, they are the same size of threads on these screws. But this is out of parts bin, out of, they actually came from my buddy's dad collected these over the years, and then when he passed away, my buddy didn't really have a place to keep his stuff, this kind of stuff, and he gave it to me. And I've had it for 10 years or more now, using them here and there. Oh, well, it stayed in there, so actually can be a really good thing. Might make it easier to get it back on there. Okay, We'll see if I can get it to line up. I don't think my screw is sticking through enough. Oh, it's probably because I need to get it out of there. It doesn't want to come out of there. Come on. I think it's sticking up in there too far, and there's just such a small amount of... See, I had to grind those down to less than 1/8 of an inch thick. I think I accidentally got Loctite on the one that I would... You know, it was on my... Damn it. I bet you that Loctite is sticking it to my socket. What do you think? Let's see now. I'm just proving everything I said about why I don't like this stuff. I need to get that out of there. At least it is a socket. I'm going to have to give up and lay this screw. Lay this thing down. I need to make sure that's not loose. Oh, it's hanging loose, yeah. I guess I better hurry. It's about to fall out of there. It's so loose. This is not one that threaded in, or it stripped out a lot or something. Okay, I'll lay it that way for now. That stuff's pretty thick, so I don't think I'll be really losing any of it. Yeah, this thing coming apart like that, you know, being an adapter in there, it can actually really be a pain. There are some times when it's a plus, like right now. I'm using a regular socket instead of a regular nut driver, so I can stick this through here. And not that one, but I can stick one of these small screwdrivers through there and get it out. Haha, look at that. Okay, so it's stayed on my wheel, but I want to keep it in the same orientation that it was before. So I'm trying to, oh, I've lost the orientation now. I looked away to lay my stuff down. That's magnetized. Well, I don't think it's imperative that I do that, but I was thinking that would be a good idea. Okay, let's put this back together. Actually, let's try the other. Oh no, this one worked. Now let's put my screwdriver back on there. It's going to dry it before I ever get... I'm glad this stuff doesn't dry super fast. Yeah, if this was super glue, it would have already been messed up big time. It doesn't work like glue. It doesn't keep it in place. Finding that out right quick. Okay, now I think I better put a little... It's all came off of the spot where I wanted it. I'm wasting that stuff. I can't help it though. Just squirted a whole bunch out when I kind of threw it down over there. Now the last time I had to get it started on the I don't know which way is which, so I'm going to flip. Well, I don't know if it flipped or not. I don't think it would really matter a whole lot, but I think I actually got it started. If I'd go and stick that socket on there before it gets started good, it'll pull it right back off of there, I'm sure. Put it back up in the socket. Okay, I think my screwdriver fell off the screw. I'm pretty sure it did. So, but it was still working, so I was still going at it. There. That doesn't allow me to. That socket's way better than when I originally tightened them with my baby crescent wrench here. It was. This does a lot better job, that's for sure, tightening them up. Okay, now, there we go. That's a good. We're getting there little by little. Now this stuff, I don't know. I'm gonna try wiping some of it off right now. I'm not sure if it's, yeah, if I can get it to wipe off, I will. Because when it dries, I don't know how hard it'll be to get off. I think it could be hard to get off. Especially on the inside of something like that. There, I got pretty much all of it, I think. Now, this on here. Where's the other? Oh, I haven't taken it off yet. Okay, so the other one, if I can get it going like I want it, then it'll be all right. I hope it works good, because if it doesn't hold, I just realized, talking about it being clean and all that, yeah, well, it's too late now. I really kind of meant to clean that with like some denatured alcohol or regular alcohol or whatever, because there might still be residue of WD-40. Well, I probably didn't spray this. I know I didn't spray this, but I might have sprayed the drill bit. Oh, how did I make those holes? I think I drilled a hole with the drill bit. I was thinking I had some self-tapping screws that were really small. I might have just used them. But I don't think so. And then decided they weren't going to hold and put these are machine screws with nuts on them, you know. Now my wire is fighting me from turning the thing. It finally got into the spot that thing has been turning just fine for this, how long as it's been in here. The wire was all wrapped in there. Now all of a sudden it decides that the connector will get in the blade and cause it to lock up. Okay, let's see. There's some of that stuff on my fingers. I had done pretty good about not getting it on me. Okay, I was turning it to see if that thing was tight, and I got it right off of there. The cogging of the magnets in the motor get right in the way. It causes it to get the blade to stay right in the way of that one. I get it in there, and then I can't get it turned over without it falling off. There. Okay. There we go. This time it didn't stay. Let's see. It feels pretty dry. Wipe it a little bit. I don't think, and especially all the sanding I've done on it and everything, I don't think that there's any WD-40 or anything left on there, but I couldn't. I really meant to. Yeah, I can see, I think, oh, that may not be able to tighten it up that way, though. It flipped over, I can see the original finish of the, now I think it's the other way, I'm not sure. I'm having trouble getting hold of it this time. Those things are magnetized, which can be good, but it makes it keep on going See, it keeps on going off, getting up to the side of it, and not with it, makes it harder to handle in this case. Although the color of this one, I was thinking it was brass, and that's not magnetic, so I guess it ain't brass. I can't use the nut driver because it goes up in there and won't contact this to get it to start tightening. And I can't seem to get it hooked up just on the end because of the magnet. Dadgummit! This one is really giving me trouble where the others didn't. And I think I want it turned over to where my freshly grinded side is. Let's try this other pair then, I guess. I want my freshly grinded side up because I'm afraid I won't be able to get a hold of it to tighten it with the nut driver. I had thought about turning them over originally, and then I thought, wait, well, and it still could be a good idea as far as getting more threads on the, as long as it would start, you know. I don't know. Let it do whatever it wants to. Okay, this is the other way. Okay, now that's laying in the general area. I'll do what I normally do and use my finger. Loctite will make it stick to my finger for a little bit. I think the side that's grinded won't start. That's what I would expect, actually. Using my fingers doesn't seem to be helping. Definitely rubbing more of that stuff off. I guess I can add a little more if I get it started. I think I got it started. Okay. And now I'm covered in Loctite. Well, since I'm already covered in it, I'm going to get some of that I spilled. Put it on there. It doesn't feel, you know, sticky to your fingers like glue does. I didn't know that. It just actually feels sort of like an oil or something. Okay, now, see if we can tighten it up. Oh, a screwdriver is actually not necessary. Oh, great. My screws are staying really well. I guess I need to just get rid of that one and get another one. Okay, I've dropped this stuff in everything in that Loctite that's in the plate. I'm glad I got the plate. At first I kept thinking I should do that, and then I thought, well, I don't know if I can work in it around. Then I thought, oh, I can't work in and around it without flipping it. I was afraid I'd turn it over. I've done that before, flipped the plate right up in my lap. You know, because you'll accidentally press down on it. And let's see. Let's just put that over there for now. Wipe this stuff off before it gets too. Now let's see if I need to. Got it on my hands here and there. I'm trying to. While there's still a little left in. I'm not even going to wipe it off. I don't think, because I'm going to let it set like this to dry. And well, I guess it won't do a lot of good. It's not like it's epoxy or something. Kind of wipe it off the head of the bolt. I don't want it adding to the. One thing about this is, they've got the different colors and all that. That's a red too, but it's actually the blue. You can see it's blue. But it's really saying that it's for use with quarter 20 to 3/8 or 5/8 nuts and bolts. And this, of course, isn't anywhere near as big as a quarter 20. But that's all I got, and I'm not going to go buy a tube, so just for this one thing. So figured I would try it and see, because I have seen, like say, with videos of people doing stuff and using this stuff. You know, they didn't they never saw anybody worry about any of that. So, yeah, I was thinking, should I wipe this off, or it's not really all over the place like that. It's not going to do it any good. It's not going to help stick. So I just don't want to wipe. Really, where the threads are is what's going to matter. If it got into threads, and that's why I held it like that and let it sit there and have a chance to drip all around, you know, down in there, and get, hopefully, between the, you know, it's not, I don't know if it'll even do that, but I thought it might get drip through there and basically glue the fan to the thing. And but I don't know. I don't know that it'll do anything like that. I think it probably, I mean, it's kind of thick, but thin enough that, well, actually it's pretty thick, so I don't know that it really would, because like I said, what I did is I drilled this holes basically like a tap size. Yeah, I did use a drill, I just remembered. I drilled them about basically a tap size, and then screwed these screws in, hoping that I wouldn't even need nuts on them. And at first they seemed like they were going to work, but this is really soft aluminum, this heat sink, and they didn't hold. So that's when I decided to go ahead and put nuts on them. A fine nut, I don't know. Well, I guess I had already found the nuts before but I knew that I didn't have enough space. Kind of wipe my fingers again before I throw this paper towel away. I knew I didn't have enough space. Really don't need that plate. I got a little trash can here, but the plate's really going to take up space in it. Oh, it'll be all right. Yeah. Anyway, I knew I didn't have, yeah, floor's a good place for it. So I knew I didn't have, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, space. See how thin I made those by grinding them down? For some reason, there's a spot where that's, even though I wiped that, it stayed there, so leave it. Must be a low spot. And you can see a little bit around the outside edge. That's why I was debating about, should I leave it around it? Then the more I looked at it, the more I thought, you know what, this ain't like epoxy or something. I don't think it's going to stick. I think the only place it's going to do any sticking is if it got any that stayed in the threads. It is surrounded by it. So, you know, if there's any sticking power of it around, well, that one's really surrounded, then doesn't need to be. The reason I'm worried about it is because, you know, of course, this is not something that needs a lot of force to hold it, but it's a fan, and fans vibrate. And the older they get, the more they vibrate. So I don't want these nuts coming loose and shorting out that little circuit board to the GPU. That would be bad. I debated. I've been debated about even going ahead with this, because after that first one came off just by me filing on it a little bit to try to deburr it a little bit, I thought, man, there's only like one or two threads, maybe two threads that are catching, you know, because of how thin I had to grind those down to clear the. And what I may do is get some, if it'll fit at all, I'll get some. I'm going to get one out and show you. I mean, it doesn't really matter exactly what this is about the right thickness. Piece of cardboard from a label, you know, NyQuil label, and cut it. Cut a hole out of the middle so that the CPU can go through. The GPU can go through it, but have it insulate these from being able to touch. Cardboard makes a pretty good insulator, so I always save some pieces. Other thing, one thing I really like to use is these kind of things. That's actually thicker. I think it'd be too thick. But these cards that they put ads on, they're really good for doing that kind of thing with. So there's one that's got some. It's got some something on it that would probably melt. That's one thing you don't want. Something that could melt in the heat. So that's the other thing I thought, well, it's going to be pretty hot. So I don't know if that would be a good idea or not. You definitely wouldn't want it to catch on fire, you know. I mean, I thought about that. I thought, well, heck, exactly how hot does a GPU on a video card get? Could it catch that cardboard on fire? I don't think it would, but it would all be trial and error, that's for sure. Trying to get me another paper towel. I'm trying not to get the others dirty at the same time. Okay, so I just realized I need to clean my tools here. So that's done. I mean, done for now, because let me clean my tools first. I was fixing to show the video card. I need to get this thing cleaned up. No, I don't have that on anymore. There we go. Well, at least it's not hard to clean this stuff up. You just turn that camera back on. My camera's froze up. Quit working? This one's working, isn't it? Yep. And now I think it's working. Yeah. I don't know why it froze up. I'll just go back to I was wanting to look in the endoscope anyway. Let's see how much of that stuff might be still left in there. It does dry. Oh, that's one good thing. It gives you time to work with it. It does. This one does anyway. It's the 242 Loctite blue in a red container. I just can't get over that. Why would they put it in a red container? Why wouldn't they just put it in a clear container? So you could see what you got. And the red one, it says on the back of this thing that it came in, all the different colors and all. And the red is supposed to be see, there's green, red, blue, and tells you the torque, the size of the fastener. See, the blue is 1/4 to 3/4. Red is up to 1 inch, and green is up to 1/2. And then there's other things like the red, is supposed to be hard. It's supposed, but they call it permanent. Some people call it permanent. Anyway, no, of course they're not, but you can get them off. But you probably will. I know. I don't remember what color it was, but I know there's been times when it was on there. Usually, what I run into is the blue stuff on things that you buy, new or whatever. And where I've had trouble messing up my screws. Is my camera quit working again? What is wrong with this camera? I guess I have been letting it stream for quite a while. Now it's gone blank. Well, let's go to this one. I'm basically done anyway. So the ones I've had trouble with getting off, and one of the reasons why I never really liked it too much was I always remember it as being blue. But anyway, well, I guess one of them. I don't think they years ago used to have all different colors, So I don't know. Don't know what the original was. I'm gonna guess it was probably blue. But anyway, let's try to get this stuff cleaned off. And before I quit with this, I'm hoping to get back to work on reformatting and get started on reformatting Mom's computer. And this, I'm gonna let it dry for a few days or however. Maybe I'll let it dry a week while I'm doing other things. But I thought if I get that done, then you know, it'll be drying and it'll be ready to put back in the machine in a day. Well, they say let it dry at least 24 hours, and so if I let it dry longer than that even, then you know, I'll have my best chance of it not, those things not vibrating loose. And is it good? Oh, I thought I saw blue on there, but I don't. So, careful, I'm going to get that stuff on my mouse. Okay. Trying to find the endoscope again. I don't know what's going on with that other camera, though. So, yeah, I don't see any signs of it making it all the way through there. But like I said, those aren't, you know, loose holes. They're drilled basically to tap size, and then I screwed those screws in there. Then I discovered, well, that's aluminum's so soft, it wasn't going to hold it, you know. One of them stripped out when I was putting it in. The first one I put in, I thought, oh, that's cool. Maybe I won't have to use nuts, you know. Then the next one it stripped out. Then the next one it kind of held and at first, and then I don't know. I don't remember if I took them out and put them back for checking things or what. But anyway, I finally decided I had to have nuts. Yeah, but that one looks like it would be brass, but it's magnetic. So I don't know. I mean, I've grinded it down, so it's not like it has a coating on it anymore. I grinded it down from its normal size of probably 3/16 or so or more down to less than 1/8 of an inch, I believe. I can't see good enough to measure that, but curiously, I have a scale right here. Let's see if we can get it in the light. If I can do anything with just get it dirty. Looks to me like about okay. The longer mark between the 1 and nothing is 50 thousandths. 1 is 100 thousandths. You can see it on there. The markings on there. So that looks to me like about 25 thousandths. And I don't remember how that relates in fractions. I could still remember 3/8. Let's see. Well, 0.250 is 250 thousandths. That's a 1/4 inch. So 0.375, I believe, is 3/8. The ones that I used all the time. But boy, yeah, look at that one. I'm going to say that's 25 thousandths. So that's what I grinded them down to. That's pretty darn thin. Before I nut. That was a little thicker right there. And that one looks like it's, like I said, about 25 thousandths. So, I don't know. We'll see if I'm not going to, once they're on there, I'm not going to tug on them, you know, of course, if I tried to take them off, I could get them off easy. But I'm just going to hope they stay, I guess. But I may go ahead and do that. I think I will to cut me out. I'll cut me out a square hole for that GPU. I'll show it. Let's get it out and I'll show it. I've got it right here. that shouldn't be really too hard to figure out, you know. Here's what I'm talking about. That circuit board is lifted up. See, that extra circuit board is probably about 25 thousandths or more, a little more probably, thick. And a little, yeah, a little more, I would say. So, and I just don't know if some of these components could be shorted out by those screws, those bolt nuts touching them. And this is the little GPU, so if I cut me out a piece, you know, that fits within this this part here, it goes on here. Oddly enough, those 4 holes is not how you mount it. You gotta look close and see that hole and that hole. It has only two mounts, and it has special nuts with springs, so it's kind of like, you know, the regular CPU that are, a lot of them are spring-loaded mounts. So I could put that cardboard under there, and even if it raises it up just a hair, my CPU paste that I put in there will fill in the gap, and it's thick stuff, you know, so it's gonna stay in there. When it gets hot, it just starts drying. It doesn't start running, you know. So, yeah, I think I will, because that way, even if those things start to back out, even if it came all the way loose, this will be, you know, up in the machine like that, you know, that way. So, the desktop machine. So, you know, it could even fall out probably without. I really don't know that necessarily that any of these could be shorted, these surface mount components, but I don't want to take that chance, yeah. Especially since I'm not 100% sure that this Loctite's going to hold these. think I'll do that. Unless it's just so thick that I can't get it in there, because I really barely have clearance. But I mean, you could see when I did it, I kept putting it up on here and looking at it until I could see if I can see light between them, you know, if we can show that or not. Can't really see. Can't even tell that I didn't have it on there. I have a light on this endoscope. Let's see if turning it on will help. I just hurt myself in two places. That light gonna come on? My toolbox, you know, it's under the table here, and I just scraped my leg on it. Okay, so there it is. Okay, now we can see down in there, but okay, you can see this space between that. See, I made sure there was probably about 25,000 space. That one is, you see, it can touch. Of course, it's only got the two mounts, so it can rock. So yeah, I think the cardboard might be the thing. I don't think it, actually, now that I'm looking at it again, I don't think that the cardboard would hold it off from there. See, that one's got plenty of space because it's not touching that one, there's only one of them that doesn't actually touch that extra little circuit board, and it's got plenty of space. But two of them do touch this board here. One of them actually touches right where there's some components. Can't remember which one. But anyway, customizing these kind of things is, if you're paying yourself to do it, you just really went in the hole, because, of course, you're paying yourself, I guess it wouldn't matter, but if you look at it in that way, as if, what if I was paying for that, you might as well buy the fans. I bought those 3 fans for about $287 or something like that. I could have bought, even if I paid $5 for one that would. Well, I don't know if you can find. I didn't see any that would actually snap into that. But what I did. Oh, ended up finding one that would fit the 4-hole kind. Of what I was just showing, the 4 holes there. I did end up finding one like that. See if that camera works. Now it's working again. Of course, you can't see me. But, ow. So, yeah, I did find one. Well, I found them on AliExpress, and I actually tried to order 2. You know, I was talking about all the other computers that had fan problems. I tried to order 2 70mm fans and a fan for that in case that didn't work. They were real cheap, you know, a couple of bucks each. And I was actually going to order a action camera. It was 20 bucks. It was a 1080p. And then later I thought, well, if I'm going to buy one, why don't I spend $30, $35 and get a 4K? But the order didn't go through. It gave an error page, and I wrote both of the. It actually was the stuff I was getting was from 2 different sellers, and I wrote them, and they didn't really give me weird answers. It's not like dealing with American people, you know. I didn't understand what one of them was saying, and they were writing in English, but this is all coming from China. But what they said made no sense. So anyway, it said on there, it said your order's put in, but it hasn't been paid. And the first thing I thought, oh, this scam on the internet, try to get you to pay twice for one order, you know. So you know, I'm real leery of that whole thing anyway. But ordering from you know, you think, well, if you order directly from China, everything comes from there anyway. You save a lot of money, but you also risk. You don't have a middleman to take the risk for you either. So sometimes the middleman can be good. So usually I order, you know, Amazon or somewhere like that, and of course it's all coming from there. But anyway, I couldn't. I looked and looked and looked and looked and couldn't find the fans. You know, they were $8, $11, $15, just for the fans. And so, and I was trying to find the 2 different computers. I figured out one of them needs a very low wattage or amperage fan. I figured out that one of them, that's all it's using to set the fan speed. It doesn't have controls, and then the IBM does, and it'll control. Even I have a 4-pin fan in both of them. Well, one of them, it runs at full speed, and it's so loud you can't stand to be within 20 feet of it. The IBM the speed control still works with a 4-pin fan, but it has a weird sound to it that bothers me being in my room. That's why I put it outside. That, and like I said, I think the hard drive might be making noise at certain times, you know. It seems fine, and then after a while it'll get loud, and then it'll get quiet again and get loud. I can't tell if it's the fan ramping up because it's warming up, or if it's the hard drive intermittently doing that, you know. So that's a nice shot of my belly and everything. I didn't realize that's what I was really showing. So I always like to be looking at my preview to see what's going on. But normally that has me looking at least towards the camera. Anyway, I can't get, you know, the table's in the way, my work table. I can't get any more in this shot without moving that camera. And I thought it was done 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. So, yeah. So I'm going to let it dry. And right now, I don't know, what time is it? It's almost 6:30. Boy, well, I got up later today. I've been getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning. I didn't get up till 9 in the morning, which has got me back on the path to being up all night already. But I may start on Mom's computer. We'll see. I got to clean all this up and clean my hands and everything before this junk dries. I know it's still stuff on my hands. I can kind of feel it. It's under my fingernails. So I got to get all this cleaned up and then see if I can think straight enough to start a whole new project. We'll see. All right. Anyway, there we go. Finally, got the GPU fan mods finished. Well, not completely. I have to put it back on there. But I'm going to let it dry and everything before I do that. And it'll take some time. I guess I'm not through with the mods if I'm going to cut me out a gasket. An insulator. It's not a gasket. It'd be an insulator. a non-conductive insulation system. Okay, circuit board insulation system, and it's not all that crazy. Putting tools up and talking here. It's not all that crazy of an idea. Well, used to, that was what they always used to insulate things on electronics, especially like the old tube electronics. Big old thick piece of cardboard. Sometimes they would use something that was made out of thin masonite, but most of the time, in the 50s and 60s, you would see big old. At first, I thought it was some kind of non-flammable cardboard, but it wasn't, because I took an old tube radio apart once, and I can't remember. Anyway, I finally figured out. I was going to say I tested it by trying to light it up, but with a lighter or something. But I don't remember. I was a kid. We had some 50s 50s hi-fi. It's so cool. Back then it meant nothing. I wanted something with some watts. Anything under 100 watts in the 70s was no good. And when I was in the 60s, of course, I didn't know watts from. But then in the 70s, I started learning that stuff. And anyway, I took it apart. When I was a young adult, I kept it. I liked the cabinet. I took it apart and I refinished. I didn't like it. It was a light color. I think it was blonde. There was a lot of blonde furniture that we had from the 50s and early 60s, and nobody liked that. Everybody liked the darker colors, and so I refinished it to a dark color, which I liked. It looked nice, and took all the hi-fi, the record player, and the amp. I saved the amp because I thought it was cool. It's still out there in the garage somewhere, and I turned the turntable. By this time, this was up in the 80s when I refinished it, just from late 70s, early 80s, and the turntable had a slide-out drawer that the turntable was screwed into. Well, when I took the turntable out, it just made an open drawer. So I decided I wanted a cassette, something to store my cassettes in. I used cassette. I was an early adopter of cassettes. I had the very first auto reverse cassette player that Radio Shack ever sold, and that's when everybody else was using 8-track tapes. And of course, those things, your tape, you paid $20 or whatever you paid for 8-track back then. Pay for one of those, and then it would your music I'm talking about, and then it would very shortly start winding up, messing up. And we learned how to fix them, but you could spend 2 hours trying to unwind it and wind it back on there, and they would get too tight, and then they'd end up breaking. And my cassette, I would record I had a TEAC. I've got a newer model of TEAC cassette recorder player now, dual cassette, but I had a single back then in the 70s, and high quality back then, and and a fairly decent turntable, and just an average one, but it worked well. And I would record all my albums that I liked really well and wanted to play in the car or the truck. I'd record them onto cassette tapes and play them on my auto reverse cassette player, and I had that thing for many years. It finally, I think the belt finally stretched to where it wouldn't play the right speed anymore. I don't know. I guess I don't have it anymore, but I always tried to fix things, but I never could fix it. But I tried getting, you just didn't know where to buy belts and things like that. Even Radio Shack didn't have. Well, if they did, some of the stuff they had was just so expensive I wouldn't buy it, but probably, I can't see why you wouldn't have been able to buy a belt for a tape deck from them. Maybe they didn't sell them. I don't know, but I never found a place back in those days back then, if you wanted to find that sort of thing, you needed to. I never knew about the there was magazines and then electronics magazines and all that stuff. I just never found out about them. If I had known about them, I'd have probably got one and found out in the back of the magazine where to buy stuff. But I didn't even know about that back then. The only thing I know about was Radio Shack, and can't think of the name of it. Well, it's a mail order magazine that I discovered when I was a kid, where you buy car parts. Can't think of the name of it. catalog, you know. And of course, what might be in the back of your hot rod or I had Hot Rod and Cycle magazine when I was young, and so anyway, now I went completely blank. I'm telling stories for some unapparent reason, and then I go blank. So that TIAC is in the garage. I know that. I just don't know what box it's in. Because I used to use it for, it had 1/4-inch mic inputs, and you could just plug a guitar into it. And I used to use it as you could plug it in and then turn the inputs up too loud, and it would cause distortion. And that was the only way I didn't have an effects unit or anything. That was the only way I could just play my guitar through the stereo. And it actually had, it was only one, you know, you couldn't change it up. You didn't have no flange or any other thing like that, but you could get some nice distortion for your guitar. Even after it wouldn't play tapes anymore, I still kept it around. So, yeah, nice story about nothing to do with what I'm doing here. Well, at least I guess it was a nice story. Loctite. What do you think about this stuff? I think it's very limited usefulness. That's what I think. I think if there's any way you can get a lock, I mean, there's thin and there's thick lock washers. There's different styles. Never had any problem with things coming off with a lock washer. But with this stuff, when I run into it, it's already been put on there, you know, like out of a factory or whatever. If it does stick good, it usually tears up your screw heads trying to get it out. Unless it's 1/4-inch or bigger, you know, then it's not really a real big problem. But when you put it on little screws like I just did, if it does stick, then I don't think it'll stick. I do not think it'll stick good enough to cause me a problem if I needed that back apart. But hopefully I won't be needing it back apart. But anyway, I actually didn't buy it for that. I bought it for my carburetor because there's actually two. Well, I'm going off into another story, but there's two in the Holley carburetor. The one mine, of the age mine is, actually I think they still do them that way. There was two holes up under the bottom that where the screws would vibrate loose and fall into your intake manifold. Great design, huh? And anyway, I discovered this was a common problem watching hot rod videos online, hot rod magazine videos, and what their solution was, is they use Loctite. They wanted to put those screws in there. What Holley started doing is leaving those screws out. I found out. What my problem is I don't know. That's why I bought this endoscope, and I haven't done that yet. Been able to look down in my manifold with. I've been using it a lot for all this, but I was going to put Loctite on all those screws on the bottom of that car. The carburetor's often on the workbench waiting for me to rebuild it. The two in the middle, I'm not going to put any screws in there, I don't think, because that's you worry about it like leaking, you know, and getting a vacuum leak between the front. This is 4-barrel between the front and the back is what I was worried about. But Holley's solution to that problem was to just start leaving those screws out. The problem is they still drilled and tapped those holes, and so you know, like I said, I bought my carburetor in '92, I believe, brand new. But I don't remember if it ever had the screws in it or not. I don't remember. So I don't know if I've got screws in my intake manifold or they fell down on the piston, because it is not running good. It's acting like it's got a valve stuck open. So I'm just hoping that even if it does, I got the reading. It's been setting a lot. I don't drive much at all anymore. It's 350 Chevy, 76 Chevy Blazer, and the motors are not the original motor, original type, but not the original motor. And I had it rebuilt in '92 though when I bought the truck. Had that motor rebuilt, and the motor was in the Blazer. I took out and put it in. I was going to put it in my '72 Chevy van, and then I ended up never being able to do it. Ended up selling it all for little or nothing. That motor was okay. It just needed the valve guide seals, really. But anyway, it sets a lot, and I read something or saw a video or something not too long ago that said when the vehicle sets a lot and the oil gets not the oil, when it sets a lot and the ethanol in the gasoline can actually cause your valves to stick when the gas gets old. So, and so I won't go any further than that. There's a lot of stuff back and forth about all that, but that's not anything to do with what I'm doing today. So, yeah, I don't know why I'm still talking. Okay, I'm gonna go. And I guess I will say goodbye from. I'm going to reload my preview before I actually go. Make sure that my stream was actually working. I always want to know when it's yeah. You can see to my left there my laptop that I always use to monitor my stream. I paused it a while ago, and yeah, hour and 16 minutes on the clock there. So I paused it probably an hour ago. It looks like I'm still streaming and everything. So, okay, I'm gonna go, and I don't know if I'm beginning to not think straight. So I was wanting to go on to working on Mom's computer and just do another stream, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. We'll see. Okay, I want to go now. At least I got something done today. That's really good. Bye bye.